Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, I am thrilled to be talking to our guest. She is just in her reach right now is insane. If you are a YouTube viewer, as so many of you are, she has one of the largest platforms out there. She has a T channel with over 395 million total views. Her subscriber count is like 757,000, and she dissects the internet's most significant controversies, scandals involving prominent online personalities and celebrities. She recently, last year, she was kind of anonymous for I think the first 5 years of her account, came out with her identity last November. It made Time magazine. I mean, that is insane, but I cannot wait to talk to her about everything. So you might know the account as Spill Sesh, but we have the person behind it, Kristi Cook. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm like, wow, okay, that was great.
Yeah, listen, honestly, I was watching the Forbes interview with you, and then I was digging around, and I'm really just as a content creator myself, or trying to be one, mainly in the podcasting realm. I'm just so impressed at this. I mean, you couldn't have imagined 10 years ago that this is where you would be. Is that correct?
No, not at all. Definitely not. I didn't even know that like this world existed,
right?
Or that this was even like possible. Yeah.
But I mean, what actually, did you always love pop culture? Did you always love influencer culture? Like, I also read that you actually worked at TMZ at a point, which is fascinating on a whole other level. What was your origin story?
I always knew I wanted to work somewhere in news. I didn't really care whether it was like politics or if it was local news or entertainment. I was like, I need any job. I'll take any job, but I know that like my heart is set in some bubble form of journalism. And I've been doing it since high school. Like I was doing like these broadcast competitions and all these things. So it was like in my blood that I like love content creating in some capacity. And I always loved YouTube. Like I was always consuming content on YouTube. I kept up with all these people, and all my friends also knew about these things. So once I kind of discovered this corner of the internet, I was like, finally, I can talk about these things, and like other people seem to know who I'm talking about and like are just as invested.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely invested. And I mean, I was just going through all of your videos, your content, and it seems like people are so invested in all of these stories, not only in celebrity pop culture, but influencer and YouTuber drama. Why do you think that is? And do you think that's partially a reaction to like a political climate where we can escape through our favorite celebrities and our favorite influencers?
I definitely think people look at it as like some sort of distraction, or like this new form of television. It was like a new form of reality television in a way. Cause
Yeah.
I feel with influencers, they're so honest about their lives more than celebrities are. I feel like celebrities are really like, they're sticking to the PR.
There's like mystery there.
Yeah,
There's like, we don't know. We really don't know how Brad Pitt lives his life. It's only rumors and Reddit threads.
But the influencers will get on TikTok and they're sharing like a full story time, 10-part series, and people eat it up. They love it.
Covering it now, being a fan of it before, but covering it, I sometimes find with this show and watching so many TV shows and reality shows, sometimes it's taken the magic away from, just me as a viewer and loving it as a fan first. Has it taken away any of the magic for you? I mean, do you kind of like every day of like time to make the donuts? Like there's 30 new influencer dramas.
I think I'm just like so tuned in on social media anyways. Like even when I'm not like, oh, what should I talk about? I'm just like always on my phone saving stuff, or I'm like, oh, I should like save this video. There might be something that comes of it. So I'm just always like paying attention to things anyways, that it doesn't always feel like it is work. Maybe like when I'm like sitting there, like, how do I make a story out of this? It feels a little bit that way, but most of the time it really just like lands on my For You page and I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's constantly something to talk about, and you kind of take us, I mean, I always term this the reliable narrator. We need a reliable narrator to take us through these kind of news items. And you are, in my opinion, a reliable narrator. It seems like people
Thank you.
really trust you, and you don't get into the muck and mire personally. That's what I love as well, is that you are kind of this voice, not necessarily on the outside, but you're able to walk us through these stories and have them, make some sense of it.
Yeah, I try to give like all the sides, because sometimes you'll watch a video and you'll like they're very opinionated, and then you're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm starting to look at that person a little differently. But then sometimes it's good to hear like the good, the bad, what they said, what other people are saying, and then you can like form your own opinion. That's like really my goal these days, unless someone's like an actual criminal, then I'm like, okay, that's bad.
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah,
then I'll give my opinion there. Yeah.
Come on, you guys, let's give Diddy a chance. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, just to take the audience through that might not be like YouTube centric. I mean, YouTube. I think people really undermine how powerful of a platform it is, and it's now been proven that more people watch YouTube than cable, than network television. I mean, it is so wild. And there seems to be a segment of the population that don't even realize it exists. I mean, how do you think we can like marry that or marry the two? Because I think YouTube is becoming the dominating force of entertainment.
It definitely is. I mean, one of my friends just moved into his apartment, and he posted a TikTok yesterday talking about how he like just wanted internet, but the internet came with cable, and he's like, for the first time I have cable. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the only person I think I know that has cable these days. Everyone is just watching the streaming platforms, or they're like on YouTube or TikTok. Like this is where it is. It's where I feel like I'm getting my news on here.
Yeah.
Everything is coming from it.
Do you ever regret not choosing the political news realm to actually cover instead of the tea and all of that stuff that you were, able to brilliantly cover?
I dabbled in it for a bit. Like my first job in college, I was writing at USA Today, and it was like a election year. So I was like covering that stuff, but it just, this is where I landed.
Yeah,
so
I was listening
to a shot. I like dabbled in all forms.
Well, listen, I mean, you have that in your tool belt. You can do that at any time. I was listening to you talk about algorithms, and algorithms, really the least sexiest word that you can possibly imagine, but algorithms really kind of steer so much of our lives right now. And anything that I talk about, my phone picks up on, and then I'm hit with like 30 Gypsy Rose Blanchard stories. Yes. And I love that, but it's scary. But in talking about the algorithm, do you ever find like audiences' tastes and the algorithm, you're like, oh man, I love covering this, but the algorithm doesn't seem to enjoy it. Do you have that pop up a lot for you?
For sure. There's always things that I'm like, this is like, it's 50-50 on whether people are going to care about it. But sometimes I'm like, it's such a good story, or like, it's so crazy that I want to talk about it still. But
yeah, that's what I was wondering, how much you stick to your guns. Like you stick to your guns, are like, I believe in this story. People will find this. Or is it so like, it's like a 24/7 news cycle for all of this, that if, you got to ride that wave, will you stick with the story even if it doesn't catch fire immediately?
Yeah, I like always pay attention to things and see how like people are reacting online to it. And even if it doesn't really pick up by like a large number of people, sometimes if the story is good, I'm like, I'm going to talk about it anyways, because I'm just like, this is insane and I need to vent about it or something.
Well, I was noticing,
need to know what other people are thinking.
Oh, I mean, I was so glad I found you, because I have been so addicted to the Gypsy Rose Blanchard Lifetime reality show. And I wish it was on every night. But then we just had the pregnancy announcement this week. So we had Lindsay Hubbard from Summer House, Margot Robbie from Barbie, and of course, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And the reality show is just mind-boggling, because you have to remind yourself as an audience member why she's here in the first place. And it also goes to show how pop culture now, true crime is pop culture. We make celebrities out of anybody, but I can't get enough. You have the same feeling about Gypsy Rose?
When she was first released, I honestly wasn't paying attention to her all that much. Obviously, the internet was blowing up, but I was like, okay, like, I guess I was like not on the hype. I know everyone was just really excited to see how she was about to like adapt to being free. But I feel like in the last like month or two, since she's been out and just on social media airing out her whole life, it's been nuts. I can't get enough.
Well, yeah, and she has a YouTube channel herself, and that's where she made the pregnancy announcement.
Yeah.
So, Gypsy is there making this 9-minute video, which I was like, wow, she's an influencer, she's a creator now. And it's so bizarre because you would think after a prison stint in her past, she would try to keep things as low level as possible. But it really is truly a reality show with the drama of her husband that she's now divorcing. She has having a baby with her prison love, Ken. I mean, it's like a soap opera.
It is. And it's crazy because like the show is still on and then all this is unfolding in real time. And I feel like I'm getting another version of the reality show because then her and Ken are going live and then Ryan is going on live. I'm like, I have notification. I literally have like the notifications on. I need to know when he's going to go live next and like talk about her being pregnant. I know he's going to do it.
Oh my God, Kristi, I was thinking the same thing because I was like talking to my girlfriend and I was like, oh my God, is Ken going live yet? Because we'll watch like Ken's TikToks like, hey guys, thanks. Gypsy said some mean stuff about me today. And I was like, when is he going to comment? And it's so funny on there because it'll be like, thanks for the cowboy hat. Because, people are giving him gifts on TikTok.
Yes. Yesterday I was watching like a one from July 7th and he was like, I loved it when you guys put the hat on Pixie. Like, the dog, he's like, I love that you guys are gifting and the dog has the freaking cartoon on it. I'm like, this is unreal. And then the other day he was crying on live. I don't know if you saw that, but he was getting really emotional talking about her. He was like talking about a memory he had of when she was released and her dad said something really nice to him and he started crying and he's literally sniffling and he's like, thanks guys for the stars. Thanks for the cow. Like, this is not real. This is not real life.
I mean, it really, and then he'll be like, thanks everybody for using the hashtag Team Ryan. I appreciate that. And it's so bizarre, but you're right. It's like a reality show, but at the same time, we're watching a reality show that was filmed months and months ago. And this is current. That's why your YouTube also is so successful because it's a daily thing. So that's why I fear sometimes for reality television because the audience is so much more up to date and informed than the reality shows, which are months behind. And I don't know how you marry the two, but there's a full reality show with Gypsy Rose airing on TikTok and like all the families doing lives. Yeah. Is that bizarre for you? What's that?
Everyone, the sister,
yes,
live.
But that's going to be bizarre for you to see like kind of something take hold like this. And I do worry about the future of television and reality because like you said, this is reality. These influencers and content creators, it's 24/7 and there's only so many eyes and so many fans in the world. And it is interesting to see what is drawing people's attention.
Totally.
With the Gypsy Rose stuff, are you allowed? I mean, like, cause you kind of cover it from, sharing all sides. But then does Kristi want to come out and be like, this is crazy. Like she is batshit or Ryan is batshit. Like how much do you have to censor yourself when you have a really strong opinion about something?
I mean, I'll say if something is crazy, I'll say like, this is shocking to me, or this is just wild. This is weird. I will give those opinions. I won't like really sway people to be like, you should feel these things with me, but I'll be like, I got a weird feeling when I saw this. And like, try to find some other comments of people that are like maybe defending Ryan or defending Gypsy to like give the full story of like, not everyone is hating either one of them. Like it really is kind of divided. When I go online, it is really divided in the comment section, whether people like Ryan or they like Gypsy or whose side they're on. It flip-flops like all the time. But yeah, like seeing that news yesterday, I was like, this is crazy. And I'm going to say it's crazy.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I went to bed last night feeling bad for Ryan and I was like, you got to get a hold of yourself. Like, I don't know why, like it's going to be okay.
It was only just so crazy because the episode of the reality show was like her taking a plan B and saying she doesn't want to have a baby with Ryan yet. And now she's pregnant with Ken. I was like, he must be like, what? Like you didn't want a baby with me, but now you do?
And what's crazier, you guys out there listening, Gypsy Rose makes an appearance on this season of The Kardashians on Hulu. Like that. I mean, so we're going to have this crossover
I think it's
event.
literally like this week
Is it
that
this
it's
week? I
happening.
mean,
I think it
that is
is.
shocking. And I do wonder if Kim was like, Gypsy Rose is getting a lot of attention. Let's get her on immediately. That goes in with my prison
Must
reform.
be.
Let's do that. But speaking about the Kardashians, there's somebody that it's one of the first families, and I sometimes think they really kind of ushered in influencer culture in so many ways. Do you think they've been able to ride this wave successfully? Do you see them falling off at any point? Because sometimes I wonder if they're like looking around and going, what's the next wave that we can catch?
I think the Kardashians are so interesting because I think that they have managed to last way longer than anyone thought possible.
Yeah.
And I think even like in the recent years, people might have thought that they would have fallen off. I don't think that they're necessarily like as like massively loved, but people love to talk about them still. They're still like invested in their drama, and even like people talking about like the downfall of like their popularity, people are super invested in talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, and multiple family members are billionaires at this point. There's
Yeah,
no falling off. Like it's too big to fail at this point, and you can never count a Kardashian out. I just think it'll be interesting to see how the trends and how they ride those trends throughout like this next decade in particular.
for sure.
Um, yeah, because it's like, Chloe's not going to go on and do like a full blown 24/7 YouTube channel.
No, I think like they're really going to be like riding on like the kids, like this next generation. Like Mason is on Instagram now. I'm
Oh
like,
my
I
God.
wonder. I know it's like crazy, but I'm like, I feel like that's they're kind of maybe banking on that people invested in their kids' lives and what that's going to do, which is so scary.
Seeing how the internet reacts to celebrities and as your account grows bigger and bigger and you actually step in front of the camera more and more as from when you first started, is there a lot of trepidation in that? And what was behind the decision for you to actually show your face for the first time in the video with Manny? Like what went into that, and how much trepidation and like fear did you have doing that?
Honestly, I think it felt like the right time. I honestly, up until like maybe like a month before, I wasn't even sure I was ever going to do something like that, but I had been like having conversations with friends and people that like represent them. And I was like, if I really want to grow this thing and I want to make this last longer, I think I really do have to get in front of the camera or just start to take on more opportunities that come my way. And that was really why I wanted to do it, just to expand kind of like what I could do and get more creative with my content.
Were you blown away by the overwhelming support that you got for that?
I was definitely like very, very happy with how it's all turned out.
I mean, has there ever been any kind of urge to like, hey, I should be a content creator myself. Let's follow around Kristi Cook's life instead of actually covering the stories? Or do you see how that goes and go, that is a firm no?
You definitely not. I think like every now and then I'll post like something fun on TikTok that's like somewhat still pop culture related, like it's me trying the new smoothie at Erewhon or like me trying Sabrina Carpenter's ice cream flavor. But that's like as personal as I like really need to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's the smartest thing and especially as you're growing a brand, because I was looking at all this stuff and it's so funny because like right now it's such a huge audience. And I was like, oh, she needs to host her own TV show. But I'm like, she already has a TV show and it's probably more popular than most TV shows on cable. So it is interesting is that like, what are the dreams and the goals going forward? Like, how big do you dream?
I definitely have just I'm dreaming, that's for sure. I feel like creating like long form content on my YouTube channel is like amazing, but possibly expanding that into like there's been so many docuseries recently on all these different subjects, especially like internet culture subjects that I'm like I would love to turn one of my videos that I've done forever into
Yes.
something like that. Um like the Quiet on Set docuseries was incredible, and being able to like talk about something that I've covered for years in that way would be sort of like the next dream.
Yeah.
I love something like that.
I had the directors of Quiet on the set here, and I was just so impressed because they come from that reporting background like you do. They're actual reporters. So the facts of it, like, and uncovering this and doing it the right way was so important to them. And I think that's why that docuseries really stood out. If there was a one subject that you've covered so far that you could do that with, do you have one in mind?
I have a couple. I'm really not sure like which one I would run with. I think um definitely one of them that is probably already happening by somebody else is like the 8 passengers Ruby Frankie story. But I started covering that in like 2020. And the fact that like after she was arrested and everything, the story has blown up. But I was like, I'm like, back then I knew she was crazy. I knew she was weird.
Yeah. Well, the Ruby Frankie we've talked about before, and she's a Mormon, or she's a mommy blogger. I mean, started off very popular, but now she's going to be in prison, and her and her partner, the lady that like kind of helped her, do all of this, is going to be in prison as well. And it's really wild. And this is another intersection of pop culture and true crime on top of mommy blogging. And it really is this amazing story. Are there any new details in that case, or any new videos that I just saw that you just made a video the other day about this?
It was mostly just her son is on social media now, and he's talking about his experience being on a family vlog channel and kind of warning other moms to maybe not make that content with their own.
Gypsy Rose, if you're listening, be careful, Gypsy,
God,
with the mommy blogger stuff.
People were commenting, wondering if she was going to show her kid online. I was like, maybe, probably.
Without a doubt. I mean, like, you don't have to say it. I'll say it. There's no way she is not going to be doing that, which is
She's
just
going to be on live.
Yeah.
In the room.
Oh yeah. It blows my mind. And then Ryan will be like, I saw Gypsy's baby today online.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, what are the stories right now in this last month that, really has drawn your attention and drawn your audience's attention for my audience?
I mean, I feel like this is like such a random one, but I was writing the script for this last night, but the Tua Girl, I'm absolutely fascinated by how much the internet like hates her right now. Like, people love her, but then they're like mad at her because she's taking all these opportunities. They're like, it's too much. She's so annoying. But I'm like, what is she supposed to do? This is her 15 minutes of fame. She's going to go away. But like, let her live. Let her go to the club, get her bands of money, and then sell this merch. Eventually people are going to get tired of it. But I'm like, the hatred that she's getting is crazy.
It really is interesting to see, and especially after studying pop culture my entire life, it is really interesting to see what like the burnout rate, like the thing from the internet that somebody says, just off like hawk to a comment that turns into like hysteria, but then you have to deal with the negativity side of that. She just collected her first paycheck for her first appearance for $30,000. Yes. She comes from the smallest town ever. Why can't we just let that like, she's not trying to be a Kardashian. She seems like a good person. Why can't we actually support that and be in on the joke with her? Because I think she realizes how insane this all is.
Yes, I'm like, she was not making this money at the Spring Factory. Let her live a little bit. Like, it's crazy. And people were upset because she got management, she got a lawyer, she's apparently moving to LA. But I was like, I mean, she's not going to ride this out for more than 15 minutes living where she lives. If she wants to extend it 20 minutes longer, it's going to be in LA. Plus, I think like if the people around her are good, they'll get her on some reality competition show, and then she could ride it out even longer.
Yeah, get her on Love Island or something like that. But I mean,
literally,
you and I both know like 15 minutes, if you do want to extend it, you have to have the right people behind you, and you have to really work your butt off. So if she actually is able to extend it, that means she's like working her ass off and deserves it. Yeah. So I mean, there's so much luck that goes into this, but you do have to be prepared in all of those things, or you do completely fall off. But you mentioned negativity, which I see all the time in regards to pop culture. I see it so much. And what do you think that is? Where do you think that comes from? I know that's a really open-ended question, but I see it more and more. It seems to be increasing. Instead of going towards what we love, we go towards what we hate.
Totally. It gets super negative. Even even people that absolutely blow up and everyone loves them
Yeah.
so much, everyone's like, the downfall is coming. Like, everyone is just like, the bigger you get, the more people want to come after you. They want to find any little thing and be like, that right there, I knew she was like that. That
Yeah.
is just, people are waiting and they love it.
Oh yeah, they have the meme ready of like the popcorn, like I'm ready to watch all of this. And I feel like that's really sometimes sad because I feel like there's certain things where I'm like, yes, I understand negativity if somebody says, criminal activity, of course, or if somebody says something really like just awful. But a lot of the times it's just to take somebody down a peg. And I don't necessarily understand that because, I think you and I both, I would rather have somebody like me than somebody hate me.
For sure. I think there's so much that goes into it. I think it's like people want something to hate, or they just like don't like to see people success or something. There's always something that it just like makes them feel a little bit better about themselves, knowing that this amazing person or like this person that has like all of this fame just isn't perfect, or like doesn't have, which no one is perfect,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know, there's something about it that maybe like humanizes them to other people or makes them feel a little bit better about where they are in their life. It's so complicated.
Well, the Tua Girl, by the way, HBO Max, if you're listening, that's a perfect docuseries right there. The Tua Girl docuseries. And we can both be talking heads on that. But, she was actually on Plan Brie, I think. She did a podcast interview there. And, the rise of these podcasters as well. I mean, it's really wild. And, you do a lot of videos, Tana Mojo and Brooke Schofield. They have a wildly popular podcast, sold out their entire tour. And I think this is an interesting story my audience might not be familiar with. If you could take us through, is Brooke Schofield did a multi-part series on her TikTok about a guy that she used to date briefly named Kane, I believe, who says he is an Australian musician. And she did this entire series that really just blew up, where it said he was lying about his accent. It's not from Australia. His mom, who he said died, did not die at all. And it was just this series of misrepresentations. And he was trying to release his single. I mean, take us through a little bit more of this story.
I was literally just talking about this story like right before we got on, because she did a podcast talking about it. So there was like an update on like her opinions of all this. But I mean, it's crazy. The thing is, she had talked about it previously on her podcast, but unless you watch their podcast, which is like an hour, 2 hours long, not a lot of people knew of Brooke or Clinton or the story. So when it went on TikTok, it was viral. And everyone's absolutely just taken aback that he would lie about his whole family dying in one single year. And he's doing this fake Australian accent. And he also cheated on her, and she found all this out, and he is denying it. He's like, well, I never said it was my like birth mom. It's
he said it was a mother figure that meant a lot to him.
Yeah, which he definitely got caught in lies, because he's done several interviews with Zach saying where he said his song Chicken Tendies was about his mom passing away. And yeah, yeah. But he said the song was about his mom passing away, and he said he didn't have a good relationship with her. And I'm like, okay, but now you're saying to Rolling Stone that the mom that did pass away is a mom figure that you had an amazing relationship with. So now you're caught in a lie.
Yeah. And he hasn't really come out and like really cleared things up at all.
No.
It's comments on his TikTok, I believe. And even in that Zach Taylor interview that you were talking about, he went in and out of his accent.
Yeah. Like it was not real. It was weird.
Well, but then Brooke does something like that. It becomes wildly popular. And then, there's kind of like a TikTok trend of this wildly revealing stories that go around, and then I was on TikTok last night, just wasting time. And then I saw Haley Bailey, I think that is her name. She got in trouble because she potentially was trying to do a series like that, but then somebody caught her in lies for like potential dates, or it didn't line up. And I was like, this is wild. Like the striving for the clicks and the interaction, but then also the people like those influencers have birthed so many other influencers. Like the
Oh,
competition,
yes.
everybody
Except Chris
is
Olsen was
this.
also doing a story time
Oh
of the
yeah.
same. Yeah. Except
I
he
mean,
stopped after like part 10, and then I was like, well, I'm only doing my nails for so long, and I fear if you don't have all the parts out right now, I don't know if I'm returning to it.
I mean, that's like our attention span. It seems to have gotten less and less. But I think certain stories you kind of want to know more and more.
Yeah.
Any other stories or stories that you're like this week that have like, or even today? Did you wake up? Was there any sort of drama already today?
Yes. Well, so
Uh oh.
I was watching the Brook Andana podcast where they were talking about Clinton Kane, and I thought it was just going to be that. Then she goes on to say that she hates Zach Sang, which I don't know if you, or yeah,
He's
you
an
were just,
interviewer. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, yes. She says she hates him, like full on said that, and
What?
then Tana was like, it's a known thing. He's a clout chaser, and I mean, she went in on him. It was crazy. I was like, that is the video I'm editing tonight because this is wild.
What? What? I mean,
I mean,
I really don't get I mean, I don't pick up that he's a clout chaser. I mean,
well, so I think like Zach is like, in my opinion, I thought he was like such a great interviewer. He's got this amazing reputation, but in like the last couple of weeks, I have seen like some people criticize him a little bit. They didn't love his interview with Tara Yummy, and then Trixie Mattel said she had a horrible time on his podcast because he said something about like he was talking about her career, and he said at the bars you perform at, and she was like the theaters I sell out. Like he didn't really know
it
the
was like slight
scale.
shade, and he didn't
And so
research.
people like didn't love that, and then now this, so I'm like, oh, it's not looking good for him. But
Wow.
I did notice that when Brooke posted all of her TikToks on Clinton Kane that night, Zach recut his interview with Tana and reposted it with a new thumbnail with the Brooke TikTok in it. And I was like, that's really interesting. I was like, okay, but like good for Zach. I guess he's like the
That's a
first
business move, right?
the tea. And then he's like posting all these TikTok clips from that interview too. But then I'm hearing from Brooke in this podcast episode that, you know, she was introduced to Clinton through Zach. And once she found out all this stuff about how he lied to her and all this, Zach was like, we're going to make so much money off doing like a documentary or like selling a series. And she was like, he like didn't care that I was so depressed, like so mentally unwell and unstable. He was just thinking about like lining his pockets, and he has like not reached out to her since. And she also never wanted him to upload that portion of the interview with Tana to begin with. So I was like, it's not looking.
See,
It doesn't look
this is why you're perfect, actually, because you're able to walk me through that with all this information that I didn't know. And I think that's. Do you have a little bit more time? Are you in a? Do you have to get
Yeah.
out? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I think, for people that don't really like fully figured out YouTube yet, can we start with your channel? What's like our like dipping our toe in the water? Like, is there one video you recommend? Is there, I mean, I wish there was like a user manual for people to actually go, it's okay. It's just like TV.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every video, I just assume like people probably haven't seen the other videos. So if it's like a long story, I try to like recap it a little bit in the beginning just to like get people up to speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like any like one-off story is always like really interesting. I feel like anything that's like this viral TikToker or something like that, because
Yeah.
usually those are just like not a continued tale. But I mean,
Yeah.
each one I
And
try
you
to make sure it's like
Well, and
everyone gets
you got to do buzzwords like dramatic, juicy. Like you got to really like capture people's imaginations. I also just saw the video or you had posted. Jojo Siwa has agreed to do another reality TV show, right? As it compared to
yes.
Dance Moms.
Apparently, yes.
I'm kind of here for that. Would you watch a Jojo Siwa reality show?
I would watch it. I mean, I'm I'm really interested to see, like, the direction of it. I think if it was, like, a really, like, raw and real version of
Yeah.
her life, I think people would be more, like, inclined because we see so much of her as this, like, JoJo Siwa character right now, and she's done so many interviews in the last couple of months that people have really seen, like, this an annoying side of her, and she's, like, admitted that she, like, puts it on
Yeah.
to annoy people, for attention, but if
I mean,
she
she's
were to, like,
chugging out
break
of a
it down a little
fireball.
bit. Yeah.
She's doing her live performances, chugging out of a fireball, like, bottle saying, "Hey, this is the grown-up JoJo Siwa." And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
you are going so hard in this grown-up thing that I would love to know the conversations happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, like, what made her wanna do that? Like, she's like, "I'm gonna bring this out right now." Like, I wanna see the planning process of this.
Yeah, I mean, really, I would be so fascinated about that. Do you also think that sometimes the people that, not content creators per se, but people in Hollywood, they seem to sometimes not realize that the audiences are so sophisticated nowadays, that we have a lot of us, a lot of people grown up on YouTube. They know PR, they know the difference between real and fake. Do you see that all the
Yeah.
time? And do you agree with that?
I do think that's, like, true in some cases, like, a lot of people are watching something and they're like, "Do they think we're dumb?"
Yeah.
Or they're watching, like, a reality show and they're like, "Do they not think that we know?" They're like, it's like being recorded, like, this is crazy almost. Um, I think that definitely is the case sometimes, but or, like,
Yeah.
you're watching the Kardashians and people are just fascinated by the fact that they're, like, talking about things the way that they are, and they're like, you wanted it to be on camera? Like, that's kinda weird."
Yeah, no, completely. Was TMZ a good training ground for where you are today?
I definitely think so. I think it, like, definitely taught me, like, my work ethic and just being on top of everything.
Yeah, because they were always trying to be first to the story. I think you've said before, which is like creates this frenzy. And by the way, I still go to TMZ probably 30 times a day on top of the Daily Mail
Me
and all.
too.
I mean, it's still like one of those one-stop shop places. What
Yeah.
period of time were you there?
I was there 2017 to, like, 2021. Yeah.
What was the biggest story that you were there for when it broke?
I think, like, the biggest story was when Kylie Jenner was pregnant, and then at the time, no one believed me, like, none of my friends, like, wanted to believe me, and I was like, "You guys, like, I'm telling you, we would not post a fake story." Though, like, everyone, I think, like, has this thing about, like, TMZ is, like, not real or something, or, like, they, like, make stuff up. I'm like,
Yeah.
"No." We wouldn't that was not the case at all, like, you literally get fired, if something was not right. So I was like, "You guys, she's pregnant." And then everyone wanted to say that she, like, hid it this whole time. I was like, "Well, she just never confirmed it herself, but there was a story out there that she was." And then, when Kanye came to the office, that was, like, the
Oh my!
craziest time
You were
ever.
there. You were there with the slave, the whole conversation. Wow. I remember watching that full thing. That's why you were there. That was a little
It
piece
was
of pop culture history.
crazy. Yeah, like, anytime I just, like, mention that day, people are like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody knows about that."
Like I remember where I was on the 101 when that came out. Like I like that's how crazy it is. So as we start winding down here, why do you think that I mean people I know why I love pop culture, and I think sometimes it's a secret shame to somebody, and I always say, no, lean in. This is valid. This is, why do you
Yeah.
think everything that you cover is valid? Why do you think there is such a voracious appetite for this?
I think people are just curious about other people, especially celebrities, but also non-celebrities. People kind of just look at others and they're like, okay, like other people are messy too. Everybody is messy in their own life in some way, somehow. And I think hearing about other people's lives is just some sort of escape, and it's also entertaining. And you're also just like, maybe you feel better about yourself at the end of the day, or like your day is going a whole lot better than theirs or something.
But it also takes you down all these like rabbit holes where we learn
It
more about
does.
the legal system. We learn more about like you
It
learn all of
does.
these things through these kind of pop culture entrances, which I find really
Yeah.
fascinating. And also, Kristi, what do you what are your tastes? Like, what do you watch? I mean, I know you probably don't own a TV. It's all like computer and YouTube, but like, what do you watch? What do you listen to?
I'm watching I'm watching Love Island right now. Love
So you're
Island is
watching Love Island
crazy.
USA?
Yes, and I at first wasn't gonna watch it. I was like really behind and I was like, you guys, I can't. I'm like, I'm rewatching Sex in the City. I'm like, this is all I can do right now. When I'm not on my phone, I can only handle so much on the television. And then everyone was talking about it, so I obviously had to get invested, and I was up like super late last night making sure I did not go to sleep until I saw part 1 of movie night.
Okay, yeah, I watched movie night last night and I talked a little bit about it on today's show. But I mean, what is it with like, why should we feel bad for the guys at all that Leah was making fun of Rob in that
Ugh,
movie night clip when we have Kaylor and Aaron right there? Like, Aaron was like going buck wild in Casa
I
Amor.
just don't know. I'm like, these other movie clips that they have left better reveal so much more, because the way they made the girls get upset with each other, they pit the girls
Oh,
against
yeah.
each other instead of like holding the guys accountable. That was crazy to me. I was like, and everyone online was like, I'm so excited for movie night. Movie night's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a movie. Like, and and it was like a fail. Everyone's upset. Everyone's like, why do they like defend Rob? Like the producers love him. I'm like,
Oh
ugh.
yeah, and then like they had like the dramatic strings behind it, where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, it's cool if you made fun of me crying, Leah. I still like you as a person. I was like, why are
And
we
she's like
feeling bad for the men at all?
apologizing to him. I'm like, wasn't he only crying because he had to pick between two girls? I'm like, that's not exactly like, I don't feel bad for him. What the heck?
Well,
I'm like, no wonder she was talking bad about him. He wasn't, making her like number one. I don't want to talk highly of anybody that's making me feel like I'm second choice.
yeah, like he dove into the pool and hid from the cameras. Kaylor, I mean, Kaylor's gonna lose her mind. Kaylor's about like,
Ugh.
I feel like Kaylor's gonna jump into the ocean any day now and just swim away, because I mean and Aaron, like, he defends Rob more than he defends his own behavior.
He was so defensive of Rob, and and like when it's his time for judgment, he's like, it wasn't a big deal. Like, you're freaking out overnight. Like, so
He's like,
ridiculous.
no,
So
I ask
it's
everybody
so
to shower with
embarrassing.
me. That's like a normal thing that I do with everybody.
I'm like, all these lies are getting clocked in front of you. You cannot. He's not in love with you. He just said that so that you would stop crying.
Yeah, I think he wants to win the game. I think he wants to go to the end.
Yeah.
He won the Traders UK, and I think he's just that kind of thing. And I think there's a boys club and there's a girls club, but I kind of fall on the girls club side of it more, because men are we're idiots. We are complete idiots, and that's what this shows.
And
But I'm so excited that you're watching it.
After Casa
Well,
Amor, I was like, you cannot root for these men. All of them just brought a girl back because they wanted like a backup. They wanted like they thought they could bring these girls back and then decide later who they liked better, instead of realizing that it was going to look really bad. And now we're
yeah,
supposed to feel bad for them. No.
but it's also the funny thing, like, everybody knows what Casa Amor is. Like, these dudes are idiots. Like, this is on television. Why do you do this? Like, it doesn't magically disappear when you go back to the girl's eye. Like, it makes no sense, but it is
Yeah.
really highly I try to explain to people every day why Love Island should be watched, because some people will get into it and they're like, this is trash. And I'm like,
Yeah.
keep going, keep going.
It's really hard for me to get into it at first, but this season, something about it, everyone kept saying it was worth it, and it honestly was. Like, the drama has been amazing.
Yeah, I've been having like the Love Island contestants on after they get out of the villa, and it's been really interesting to hear their experience, because they really put them in this kind of pressure cooker cage where they have no access with their phones in the outside world, and they just have to chat. So that's why it's so dramatic, is because it's just
Yeah.
that all they have is each other.
Yeah, like, you get invested. No wonder, like, they're crying and so emotional, because that's all they're talking about all day long is, like, each other and thinking about their feelings. Like, they can't go on their phones for a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. You are amazing. I'm so excited to talk to you, because like, you've built up this business, and I was getting inspired just listening to you speak about this. And also the stuff that you talk about is right up my alley. So I know if the audience doesn't already know you, they're going to fall in love with you as well. What are you listening to? What's the song of the summer for you?
Oh my gosh.
Is it
I'm
Sabrina?
listening to I love Sabrina. Can't wait for the new album. I'm also a major Taylor Swift fan. Like, I was just defending her super hard to my friend last night who was trying to tell me she was in a PR relationship. I was like, I need to go
Oh
to
my
bed
God.
because I can. I was like, I'm seeing red. I'm going to say something really mean, so I need to go to bed right now.
I had these psychics on that even told me that it was a PR relationship. And I was like, that's where I draw the line, psychics. That's where
No,
I draw the
see,
line. Because
she
any
doesn't need a
relationship,
PR relationship, and that's not real.
but any relationship she's going to be in is a PR relationship just because of like how big she is. But I think you're not going to waste your time flying back and forth just for more attention. Like, I'm sorry.
No, not at
Okay.
all. Not with their busy schedules.
So we're in full agreement on Taylor. But you listen to Sabrina. Anybody else?
A lot of Gracie Abram night right now. I think like Free Now. I think that's the name of it. I think it's probably going to be like my number one most listened to. I like cannot stop listening to it.
Any
But
Chapel Roan?
yes, of course. And I saw her open for Olivia Rodrigo like whenever it was the first show that she did, and then I saw her at Coachella, which I remember vividly trying to take a clip of her singing Hot to Go, and then like no one was doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna delete that clip. And now everybody is like doing it. So I'm like, okay, well,
That's how insane like kind of pop culture works, is that Coachella was in like late April, and then you cut to Governor's Ball last month. She had the biggest crowd at Governor's Ball. Everybody was doing Hot to Go, and it was so exciting to watch like kind of music and pop culture travel. But you can watch how pop culture travels on Kristi Cook's channel, Spill Sesh, which you can subscribe to. I'm going to put all of her social medias so you can keep up to date. I'm going to be keeping up to date there as well. What else do you have coming up that we can support you with, or what else is on the horizon?
Working on some exciting projects, that's for sure, with one of my friends. So that's as much as I'll say about that, but definitely keeping up with the socials. Something exciting will be announced soon.
Can we start like a YouTube beef, me and you? Like we'll do like a Zach, like, and we'll kind of come after each other. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Be great.
Kristi, thank you so much for all of your time today. I truly appreciate it. And just congratulations on all the success.